The champagne glass made a satisfying clink as my wedding ring hit the bottom, sending tiny bubbles spiraling around the gold band like miniature tornadoes. The rooftop bar fell silent, except for the December wind howling between the glass towers of downtown. "So do I said, watching Lara's perfectly manicured hand freeze halfway to her mouth. Her boss, Grant Hollister, still had his arm wrapped around her waist. His fingers splayed possessively across the silk of her dress, the same dress I'd bought her for our anniversary last month. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The irony wasn't lost on me. Here I was, Colton Merrick, 38-year-old cybersecurity analyst, finally making a scene at the company Christmas party. The invisible man everyone forgot was in the room, the guy who fixed their computers and listened to their secrets through poorly secured networks, suddenly dropping nuclear bombs and champagne flutes. "Colton, what the hell?" Lara started, but I was already walking away, my footsteps echoing off the wet concrete. The neon lights from the city below painted everything in harsh reds and blues, making the whole scene look like a crime scene, which I suppose it was. Behind me, I heard Grant's smug voice. "Jesus, Lara, I told you he was unstable. Good thing you're finally getting rid of the extra weight." I stopped at the elevator, turned around, and gave them both my best smile. "Enjoy your better man, sweetheart. You'll wish you'd chosen worse." The elevator doors closed on Lara's horrified face and Grant's confused scowl. 20 floors down, I walked through the marble lobby of Hollister and Associates, past the security desk where Frank the night guard was reading his newspaper, past the reception area where Lara had first kissed Grant 3 months ago when she thought no one was watching. But someone was always watching. That's the thing about being a cybersecurity analyst. You see everything. Every email, every login, every deleted browser history, every hotel reservation made on the company credit card, every working late excuse that coincided with Grant's calendar showing private meetings. My phone buzzed as I reached my car in the parking garage. A text from my old college buddy Jake. "You sure about this, man? Once you start, there's no going back." I typed back, "Already started. Rings in the champagne. She knows I know." "Holy shit. You actually did it. Okay, I'm in. When do you need me?" "Soon," I replied, then added, "Bring the red paint." The next morning, I woke up in a Holiday Inn Express, which seemed appropriately mundane for the beginning of someone's complete life implosion. The irony of corporate-sponsored revenge wasn't lost on me. I'd charged the room to my personal credit card, the one Lara didn't know about, funded by 3 years of freelance cybersecurity consulting that I'd kept secret for exactly this kind of emergency. My phone had 17 missed calls from Lara and 43 text messages ranging from "we need to talk" to "you're being ridiculous" to "Grant means nothing to me" to "please come home." The progression was almost scientific in its predictability. Denial, bargaining, anger, more bargaining. I ordered room service and opened my laptop. Time to get to work. First stop, our joint bank accounts. I transferred my half to my personal account, then froze the joint account, citing suspicious activity. It wasn't technically illegal. The bank's fraud department would sort it out eventually, but it would take weeks and require both signatures. Good luck getting mine. Second, credit cards. I called each company, reported the cards stolen, requested new ones sent to my new address. Lara's shopping spree days were officially over. Third, the nuclear option. I opened the folder on my desktop labeled Insurance Policy and reviewed 3 months of carefully documented evidence. Screenshots of Grant's browser history showing hotel bookings, security footage from the office showing their after-hours encounters, email threads where Grant promised Lara promotions in exchange for special projects, and the crown jewel, Grant's personnel file, which I'd accessed through a legitimate security audit, showing a pattern of harassment complaints that HR had buried. My phone rang. Lara. "Colton, please, we need to talk. I'm at the house. Where are you?" "I'm exactly where I should be," I said, looking out at the parking lot where normal people were living their normal lives, "which is anywhere you're not." "Don't be dramatic. It's not what you think." "It's exactly what I think. Grant's married, you're married, and you've been screwing him in conference room B every Tuesday and Thursday after the cleaning crew leaves. Very original, by the way. I especially liked the part where you told him I was inadequate. That really added a nice personal touch to your professional betrayal." The silence stretched for 10 seconds. Then, "You've been spying on me." "I've been doing my job. Network security includes monitoring for inappropriate use of company resources. Turns out my wife and her boss have been very inappropriate with company resources. The conference room table, the executive bathroom, Grant's office couch, that's all company property, Lara. Technically, you've been committing theft of services. You bastard. You complete bastard. I'm a bastard who kept receipts. Speaking of which, you should probably call your credit card companies. I think there might be some fraudulent activity on your accounts. I hung up and immediately called my divorce attorney, a sharp woman named Patricia Chen, who specialized in high-conflict divorces and had a reputation for playing hardball. I'd already sent her the evidence folder. Mr. Merrick, she said, I've reviewed your materials. This is quite comprehensive. Are you sure you want to proceed with the full disclosure option? It's going to get messy. Patricia, my wife has been having an affair with her married boss, using company property for their encounters, and according to the text messages I've documented, they've been planning to get me fired so they can be together without complications. Messy is exactly what I want. All right then, I'll file the papers this afternoon, and Mr. Merrick, based on this evidence, I think we can make a very strong case for alienation of affection against Mr. Hollister. His assets are considerable. After I hung up, I allowed myself a small smile. Then I called the one person at Lara's office who'd always been friendly to me, Amanda Torres, Lara's best friend and the office gossip queen. Amanda had always seemed genuinely nice, asking about my work, remembering my birthday, commenting on my social media posts. If anyone would give me the inside scoop on how this was playing out at the office, it would be Amanda. Colton? Oh my God. Everyone's talking about last night. Are you okay? I'm fine, Amanda. Better than fine, actually. I'm free. How's Lara handling things? She's a mess. She came in this morning crying, and Grant's been in meetings with HR all day. There are rumors flying everywhere. Some people are saying you threw the ring at her. Others are saying you made a speech. What really happened? I gave her the sanitized version, focusing on my dramatic exit and leaving out the surveillance details. Amanda was sympathetic, making all the right noises about how Lara had made a terrible mistake and how I deserved better. Amanda, can I ask you a favor? I know this puts you in a weird position, but I'd appreciate it if you could let me know how things develop at the office. I'm not looking to cause more trouble. I just want to know if I need to lawyer up for any workplace retaliation. Of course, Colton. You're a good guy, and what they did was awful. I'll keep you posted. After we hung up, I felt better about having at least one ally in enemy territory. Then I called Jake. Dude, you're all over social media. Lara's friends are posting about what a psycho you are, but everyone else is on your side. Your ring drop is actually trending locally. Seriously? Absolutely serious. Someone filmed the whole thing and posted it. You look like a badass, walking away all calm while she's freaking out. Very cinematic. Great, just what I need. Viral fame for my marriage ending. Are you kidding? This is perfect. Public opinion is on your side. Now, about that red paint. What exactly are we doing with it? I explained my plan for Grant's car, and Jake laughed so hard I had to hold the phone away from my ear. You're diabolical, man. I love it. When do we strike? Soon. I need to let them think they're getting away with it first. Let their guard down. 3 days later, Amanda called with intelligence that changed everything. Colton, you need to know something. I probably shouldn't be telling you this, but I think you have a right to know. Grant's wife called the office today. She wants to meet with you. I nearly dropped my coffee. Grant's wife? How does she even know about me? Apparently, someone sent her screenshots of Grant and Lara's text messages. She knows everything, and she's furious. She asked me to give you her number. Did you tell her you'd talk to me? I might have mentioned that you and I keep in touch. Colton, she sounded really angry, but not at you, at them. I think she wants to team up. An hour later, I was sitting across from Victoria Hollister in a dimly lit coffee shop downtown. She was nothing like I'd expected. Instead of the trophy wife I'd imagined, she was a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s wearing a business suit that probably cost more than my car. She slid a manila folder across the table. Mr. Merrick, I believe we have a common interest in seeing my husband and your wife face consequences for their actions. I opened the folder and whistled low. Bank statements showing Grant's gambling debts, credit reports revealing hidden accounts, legal documents from previous harassment settlements that had been sealed, and most damaging of all, evidence that Grant had been embezzling from the company to cover his gambling losses. How did you get all this? I'm a forensic accountant, Mr. Merrick. I've been building a case for divorce for 2 years, but I needed proof of adultery to trigger the infidelity clause in our prenup. Your wife provided that proof beautifully. What do you want from me? I want them both destroyed. Professionally, financially, socially. Grant thinks he's untouchable because he brings in big clients, but the company won't protect him once they know he's been stealing. And your wife, she's been helping him cover it up. Some of those transfers were authorized using her access codes. I stared at the documents. Lara had been involved in embezzlement? She doesn't know about financial crimes. She's in account management. She knows enough. Grant's been using her login credentials to authorize transfers after hours. Either she's complicit, or she's been criminally negligent with her access codes. Either way, her career is over once this comes out. Victoria leaned forward. Here's what I propose. You help me expose them publicly, and I'll make sure the company knows about the embezzlement. We coordinate our attacks for maximum impact. What kind of public exposure are we talking about? She smiled, and it wasn't a nice smile. Grant's receiving a community service award next week at the Chamber of Commerce dinner. 500 people, including all the major business leaders in the city. It would be a shame if someone interrupted his acceptance speech with some uncomfortable truths. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. I'm in. We shook hands, and I felt like I just signed a deal with the devil. But sometimes the devil has the best lawyers. That evening, Amanda called again. Colton, something weird happened today. Lara got called into a meeting with HR and the CFO. She came out looking like she'd seen a ghost, and Grant's been making phone calls all day with his door closed. I think something big is happening. Thanks for the heads up. How's Lara handling everything personally? She's a wreck. She keeps asking if I've talked to you, and she's been crying in the bathroom. I almost feel sorry for her. Almost. Amanda, you've been such a good friend through all this. I really appreciate you keeping me informed. Of course. You deserve to know what's happening. Besides, I never liked Grant anyway. He's always been a creep. After we hung up, I realized I was actually starting to enjoy this. For the first time in my marriage, I felt like I had power. I wasn't the invisible husband anymore, the one who got talked over at dinner parties and forgotten at office events. I was the guy with the nuclear codes, and I was finally ready to launch. The Chamber of Commerce dinner was held at the Marriott downtown, in a ballroom that screamed corporate success with its crystal chandeliers and gold-trimmed everything. I sat at a table in the back, wearing my best suit and a press badge that Jake had somehow procured for me. Victoria was at the head table with Grant, playing the supportive wife perfectly while he basked in the pre-ceremony attention. Lara was there too, at Grant's company table, wearing a black dress that made her look like she was attending a funeral. Which, in a way, she was. The dinner portion dragged on forever, rubber chicken and speeches about economic development and community leadership. Grant kept checking his phone and whispering to Lara, who looked increasingly nervous as the evening progressed. They knew something was coming, but they didn't know what. Finally, the awards portion began. Grant was the third recipient, being honored for his outstanding contributions to business ethics and community development. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. As Grant approached the podium to thunderous applause, I pulled out my phone and opened the app I'd prepared. With one tap, I connected to the hotel's AV system, a ridiculously unsecured network that I'd hacked earlier that afternoon during the sound check. Grant began his speech, thanking the community and talking about the importance of integrity in business. That's when I made my move. The screens around the ballroom suddenly switched from the Chamber of Commerce logo to a slideshow I'd prepared. The first image was a text message from Grant to Lara. Can't wait to bend you over the conference table again. Your husband's such a pathetic loser. The gasp started immediately. Grant stopped mid-sentence, turning to see his own words projected in 48-point font for 500 people to read. The next slide was even better. A photo from the office security camera showing Grant and Lara in a compromising position in his office, time-stamped during business hours. What the hell? Grant started, but I was just getting warmed up. The third slide was a bank statement showing the embezzled funds. The fourth was a screenshot of Grant's gambling debts. The fifth was Lara's email to Grant saying, "Once we get rid of Colton, we can be together openly. He's too stupid to figure out what's happening." By now, the ballroom was in chaos. People were pulling out their phones, taking pictures of the screens. Grant was frantically gesturing to the AV crew, but they couldn't regain control of their own system. I stood up and walked toward the front of the room, my press badge giving me an air of authority. Someone handed me a microphone, probably thinking I was there to provide technical support. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice carrying clearly through the sound system, "I'm Colton Merrick, and I'm here to discuss the real Grant Hollister. The man you're honoring tonight has been embezzling from his company, conducting multiple affairs with subordinates, and generally proving that integrity in business is apparently optional." The room erupted. Grant lunged for me, but security stepped between us. Lara was crying at her table, her face buried in her hands. Victoria sat calmly at the head table, sipping her wine with a satisfied expression. "You're insane," Grant shouted. "This is slander. I'll sue you for everything you have." "With what money?" I replied cheerfully. "According to your bank statements, which are now public record thanks to your wife's divorce filing, You're about $300,000 in debt. Good luck affording a lawyer. The security guards escorted me out, but the damage was done. By the time I reached the parking lot, the story was already spreading on social media. Grantgate was trending, and the photos of the screens were being shared faster than the hotel's lawyers could send takedown notices. Jake was waiting by my car, grinning like a maniac. Dude, that was epic. You just nuked them in front of the entire business community. Phase 1 complete, I said. Now for Phase 2. We drove to Grant's house, a McMansion in the suburbs that screamed overcompensating for something. His Mercedes was in the driveway, which meant he'd come straight home after the disaster at the hotel. Jake pulled on latex gloves and grabbed the bucket from his trunk. You sure about the red paint? It's going to stain everything. That's the point. I want him to see it every time he looks at his car. I want him to remember that actions have consequences. We worked quickly and quietly. Jake poured the red paint over the Mercedes while I used a glass cutter to etch cheater into the windshield. We slashed the tires for good measure, then I attached a note to the windshield wiper. From the Invisible Man, hope you enjoyed the spotlight. As we drove away, I felt a mixture of satisfaction and anticipation. Grant and Lara's professional lives were over, but I wasn't done yet. The best part was still to come. The next morning brought a flood of phone calls. Patricia, my divorce attorney, was practically giddy. Colton, Grant's lawyers called this morning wanting to negotiate a settlement. Apparently he's concerned about the alienation of affection lawsuit. How concerned? $2 million concerned. He wants to pay you to make this go away quietly. I laughed. Tell him I'll consider it. But first, I want a public apology from both of them, published in the Business Journal. Full-page ad, their photos, admitting to the affair and the embezzlement. That's unusually vindictive, even for a divorce case. Patricia, they tried to destroy my life while laughing about how stupid I was. Vindictive doesn't begin to cover what I'm feeling right now. Amanda called an hour later with an update from the office. Colton, it's chaos here. Grant's been fired, Lara's been suspended pending investigation, and there are FBI agents in the building looking at the financial records. Everyone's talking about what happened at the dinner. You're like a folk hero. How's Lara taking it? She's not good. She tried to blame everything on Grant, saying he manipulated her, but the evidence is pretty clear that she was involved willingly. She keeps asking about you, wanting to know if you'll talk to her. What do you tell her? That you're done with her, which you are, right? Something in Amanda's tone made me pause. Of course I'm done with her. Why? No reason, I just want to make sure you're not going to let her manipulate you into taking her back. You deserve so much better than her, Colton. After we hung up, I had a strange feeling that I couldn't quite identify. Amanda had been incredibly helpful throughout this whole ordeal, almost suspiciously so. But I pushed the thought aside. I had bigger things to worry about. That afternoon, I got a call from Victoria. The FBI wants to interview you about Grant's financial activities. Apparently, your little slideshow provided them with leads they'd been missing. Am I in trouble? Quite the opposite. They're treating you as a whistleblower. There might even be a reward involved. The company is offering a bounty for information leading to the recovery of embezzled funds. The irony was delicious. Not only was I destroying Grant and Lara, I was potentially getting paid for it. That evening, I decided to drive by our old house. My house, technically, since Lara's name wasn't on the deed. I'd bought it before we got married, and in my state, that made it separate property. Lara's car was in the driveway, and I could see her silhouette in the living room window. On impulse, I decided to go in and face her one last time. She was sitting on the couch in her pajamas, surrounded by tissues and empty wine bottles. She looked up when I walked in, and her face went through a whole range of emotions: hope, fear, anger, desperation. Colton, you came home. I came to get some things. This isn't home anymore. Please, we need to talk. I know you're angry, but what you did, the hotel, Grant's car, the FBI investigation, you've destroyed everything. I destroyed everything? Lara, you were sleeping with your boss and helping him steal money from the company. I just made sure people found out about it. She stood up, swaying slightly from the wine. Grant made me do it. The financial stuff, I mean. He said it was just moving money around, that it wasn't really stealing. And the affair, he pursued me, Colton. He said he'd fire me if I didn't go along with it. So now it's harassment? That's your defense? It's the truth. He manipulated me and I was weak. I made mistakes, but I never meant for any of this to happen. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. No anger, no sadness, no residual love, just a kind of tired satisfaction. Lara, I read your text messages. You called me pathetic. You said I was boring in bed. You told Grant that you were only staying married to me until you could figure out how to get half my assets in a divorce. Does that sound like someone who was being manipulated?" She started crying again, but it felt performative. "I was angry when I said those things. I didn't mean them." "Yes, you did. And that's okay, because it made this so much easier." I walked upstairs and packed a few more belongings, ignoring her pleas from the living room. As I was leaving, she grabbed my arm. "Colton, please, and I'll do anything. I'll go to counseling, I'll quit my job, I'll sign a post-nup giving up all rights to your assets. Just please don't leave me with nothing." I gently removed her hand from my arm. "You're not leaving with nothing, Lara. You're leaving with exactly what you brought to this marriage. Your stunning personality and your flexible morals. I'm sure you'll land on your feet or your back, whichever works better for you." As I drove away, I felt lighter than I had in years. But the feeling didn't last long because my phone was ringing with a number I didn't recognize. "Mr. Merrick, this is Detective Sarah Johnson with the Fraud Division. We need to talk." The detective wanted to meet at a coffee shop downtown, which seemed oddly casual for a fraud investigation. Detective Johnson turned out to be a no-nonsense woman in her 50s who got straight to the point. "Mr. Merrick, we've been investigating the embezzlement at Hollister and Associates for 6 months. Your presentation at the chamber dinner provided us with evidence we'd been trying to obtain through legal channels. We're grateful for your cooperation." I wasn't trying to cooperate with law enforcement. I was just trying to expose my wife's affair. "Nevertheless, your actions have been helpful. However, we have some concerns about how you obtained certain pieces of evidence, specifically the bank records and internal company documents." My stomach dropped. "Am I being charged with something?" "That depends. We know you didn't hack into any external systems. Our cybercrime unit verified that. But we need to understand your relationship with Amanda Torres." "Amanda? She's my wife's friend. She's been keeping me informed about what's happening at the office." Detective Johnson slid a tablet across the table. On the screen was a recording of Amanda in what looked like an interrogation room. "Play it," the detective said. I pressed play and heard Amanda's voice. "I've been planning this for 2 years. Grant passed me over for promotion 3 times, always choosing his latest girlfriend instead. When he started sleeping with Lara, I saw an opportunity. I fed information to Colton, manipulated him into thinking I was being helpful, and let him do all the dirty work while I positioned myself to take Grant's job." "She was using me?" "Keep listening." Amanda's voice continued. "I'm the one who sent the bank records to Grant's wife. I'm the one who made sure Colton had access to the security footage. I even suggested the red paint thing to his friend Jake. I knew it would push Grant over the edge and make him do something stupid. Colton thinks he's some kind of mastermind, but he's just another pawn." I stopped the recording. She played me. She played everyone. Amanda Torres has been systematically destroying her colleagues for years, using other people to do her dirty work. You're just the latest in a long line of unwitting accomplices. So, what happens now? Do I go to jail? That's up to the district attorney, but probably not. You were a victim of manipulation, and your actions, while questionable, didn't involve any actual crimes. The harassment charges against you for the car incident have been dropped. Grant doesn't want to draw any more attention to himself. I sat back in my chair, trying to process this revelation. Where's Amanda now? In custody. Turns out she's been embezzling too, just more cleverly than Grant. She's been using the information she gathered on her colleagues to blackmail them into authorizing fraudulent transactions. We estimate she's stolen over $500,000 over the past 3 years. The irony was staggering. I'd thought I was the puppet master, pulling strings and orchestrating revenge, but I'd actually been the puppet all along. Amanda had manipulated me into destroying Grant and Lara, clearing the way for her own advancement, while covering up her own crimes. Detective, I need to ask you something. My divorce, the alienation of affection lawsuit, the settlement negotiations, are those still valid? As far as I know, yes. Your wife's affair was real, regardless of who exposed it or why. Amanda's manipulation doesn't change the fact that your marriage was destroyed by adultery. I left the coffee shop feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. Everything I'd thought I knew about the past few weeks was wrong. I wasn't a clever strategist getting revenge on unfaithful spouse. I was a useful idiot being manipulated by someone even more ruthless than the people I was trying to destroy. But as I drove home, something occurred to me. Did it matter? Grant was still fired and facing embezzlement charges. Lara was still suspended and facing divorce. Amanda was in jail facing even more serious charges. And I was still free, with a $2 million settlement offer and a house that was legally mine. Maybe I hadn't been the mastermind, but I'd still won. My phone buzzed with a text from Jake. Dude, did you see the news? Amanda got arrested for embezzlement. Apparently she was the real criminal mastermind. You dodged a bullet there. I texted back, yeah, I heard. Crazy how things work out. So what now? You're rich, you're free, and your enemies are all destroyed. What does the newly liberated Colton Merrick do for an encore? I thought about it as I pulled into my driveway. What did I do now? I had money, I had my freedom, and I had the satisfaction of knowing that everyone who'd wronged me was facing consequences. Amanda might have manipulated me, but she'd also given me exactly what I wanted: revenge. I walked into my house, poured myself a scotch, and sat down at my computer. I had some emails to write. First, to Patricia, accepting Grant's settlement offer. Second, to Victoria, thanking her for her cooperation and wishing her well in her own divorce proceedings. Third, to the FBI, offering my continued cooperation in their investigation. And finally, one last email. To Lara. Lara, I wrote, I know you're going through a difficult time right now, and I want you to know that I don't hate you. I'm not happy about what you did, but I understand that people make mistakes when they're unhappy. I hope you're able to rebuild your life and find whatever it was you were looking for when you decided our marriage wasn't enough for you. I won't be part of that rebuilding process, but I wish you well, Colton. I read it over twice, then deleted it without sending it. Some things were better left unsaid. Instead, I opened a new document and started typing, Chapter 1, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Revenge. It was going to be a hell of a book. 6 months later, I was sitting in a bookstore downtown, signing copies of The Nobody's Revenge, a true story of marriage, betrayal, and poetic justice. The book had become a surprise bestseller, tapping into a cultural moment when people were hungry for stories about underdogs fighting back against entitled bullies. Grant was in minimum security prison, serving 18 months for embezzlement. Lara had moved back in with her parents and was working at a call center, her marketing career effectively over. Amanda was serving 5 years in federal prison and would be paying restitution for the rest of her life. And me? I was rich, famous, and completely free. The settlement money, combined with the book advance and speaking fees, had set me up for life. I'd quit my job as a cybersecurity analyst and was now a full-time author and consultant, helping other people navigate high-conflict divorces and workplace betrayals. The irony wasn't lost on me that I'd built a career out of being manipulated and betrayed, but as I always told my clients, sometimes the best revenge is living well and getting paid to tell everyone about it. A woman approached my signing table, holding a copy of my book. She was attractive, probably in her 30s, with kind eyes and a genuine smile. Mr. Merrick, I just wanted to thank you for writing this. I'm going through something similar with my husband, and your story gave me the courage to fight back. I'm glad it helped, I said, signing her book. Just remember, the goal isn't to destroy the other person. The goal is to protect yourself and make sure there are consequences for bad behavior. Did you ever regret any of it? The public humiliation, the legal battles, all of it? I thought about it for a moment. You know what I regret? I regret not standing up for myself sooner. I regret letting people treat me like I was invisible for so long. Everything else? No regrets at all? She smiled and walked away, and I went back to signing books. Outside, it was starting to snow, and the city lights were reflecting off the falling flakes like tiny diamonds. It was beautiful, and for the first time in my adult life, I was exactly where I wanted to be. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Colton, this is Lara. I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I wanted you to know that I read your book. You were right about everything. I'm sorry for what I did to you, and I'm glad you found a way to turn it into something positive. I hope you're happy. I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. Some chapters of your life are meant to stay closed. The bookstore manager approached my table. Mr. Merrick, we're about ready to wrap up. This was our biggest signing event of the year. Congratulations. Thank you. It's been a great evening. As I packed up my things, I reflected on how far I'd come from that night at the Christmas party, when I dropped my wedding ring in Lara's champagne glass. I'd thought I was making a dramatic gesture, but I'd actually been taking the first step toward becoming the person I was meant to be. The invisible man was gone. In his place was someone who understood that respect isn't given, it's earned, and sometimes you have to fight for it. I walked out into the snowy night, pulled out my phone, and called Jake. How'd the signing go? Great. I think I'm ready for the next chapter. What's that? I smiled, watching the snow fall on the city that had witnessed my transformation from nobody to somebody, whatever I want it to be.